Namaskar, I am Adarsh. Welcome to Adarsh Education Society.
Good morning students, Standard 5. Our subject is English. We are going to continue our Unit 11, The King and the Tree Goddess. In the previous video, we have learned about some trees. We have learned about its significance and its uses. Then we have learned about the king who wanted to make a palace from the Deodar tree. Now let's see what happens next in the part 2. So activity 4, part 2. After much searching, the king's men found a splendid Deodar tree growing not far from the city. It was worshipped by the people of many villages round about, because within it lived a goddess, and it was she who gave to the tree its great strength, size and beauty. Now after much searching, the king's men found a tree in his park, in his garden, in his kingdom. It was worshipped by the people of many villages round about. Now this tree was worshipped by many villages, by many people, because because they believed that within that tree lived a goddess, and it was she who gave the tree its strength, its size and its beauty. When the Prime Minister and his men decided that the column for the king's palace must be made from this lofty Deodar tree, they came with garlands, lamps and music to pay their respect to the goddess inside and to warn her that she must leave her abode. Within 7 days, it had to be cut to the ground. Now, when they saw this big, large tree, the Prime Minister and his men decided that we will take this tree to the king. The king's palace will be made from this lofty means big and strong tree. And since the tree was worshipped by many people, they took with them some lamps, garlands, flowers and some music to play, so they can pay their respects to the goddess. They lit their lamps and placed them in a circle round the tree. They hung their garlands upon the branches. Then, joining hands, some danced and others sang. Now, they placed the lamps near the tree, around the tree. They hung their garlands upon their branches. They put the flowers on their branches. Then joining hands, some danced and others sang. What they sang? With cruel acts we have come to fell your age long home. We have come with the cruel axe. Axe is the thing with which we cut the tree. We have come with the cruel axe to fell your age long home. To fell your long age home means to cut your home. Forgive us, great tree goddess. We dance before your throne. Now they are telling, forgive us. The tree goddess, please forgive us because we are cutting your home. We dance before your throne. To please the king must we cut down your loveliest tree. We have to cut this tree, so please accept our prayers, our offerings like lamps, garlands, music, dance, etc. But please forgive us. Why? Because we have to cut this tree. Because the king wants to make a palace from this tree. The tree goddess heard and understood what was about to happen. She remained quiet as a resting breeze for a few minutes, for a few moments. Then all her leaves began to whisper. Now the tree goddess heard what the men were saying, what the king's men were saying. She was able to know that what was going to happen. She heard that they are going to cut her tree. But she remained quiet. She told nothing. And then all her leaves began to whisper. Then the leaves began to whisper among themselves. And her topmost branch bowed, it came down. The topmost branch came down. The man went away satisfied that she had heard and understood. So when the leaves whispered, the branch came down. The prime minister and the king's men, they thought, now the goddess has heard what we want to say. So they went from there. That night, when the king was asleep, a glorious figure appeared to him and spoke in a voice that was like the rustle of autumn leaves. Now, the same night when the king was sleeping, he was dreaming. So what he sees in his dream, that a glorious figure appeared to him and spoke in a voice that was like the rustle of autumn leaves. A beautiful lady appears before him and she is talking to him. And how's the voice of the lady? It's like a rustle of the autumn leaves. I am the goddess of the Deodar tree, great king. Now she is giving her introduction to the king, that I am goddess of the Deodar tree. Your man have told me that you intend to cut me down. I have come to beg you to change your mind. Now she is telling that your men have told me that you want to cut me. Why? Because you want to make a palace from me. I have come to beg you to change your mind. I have come here so that I can convince you that please don't cut me. I have come here that you change your mind. Please change your decision. No, my mind is made up, answered the king in his dream. Now the king is answering her that no, I will not change my mind. I will not change my decision. Yours is the only tree in all my parks strong enough to support by itself a palace, and therefore I must have it. That in my park you are the tree who is stronger and larger. From you I can make a beautiful palace. So I will not change my mind, I will not change my decision, and I will cut you down. But consider, O king, for hundreds of years I have been worshipped by the people of all the villages in your kingdom, and nothing but good has gone from me to them. Now she is requesting the king that why she is telling no to cut her. She is telling that from hundreds of years many peoples are worshipping me. They are considering me a sacred tree, a holy tree, and I have given them blessings every time. A good thing has been come from me. The birds nest in me. I send a most lovely shade upon the grass. Now she is telling that the people are worshipping me. The birds build their nest in me. I send a most lovely shade upon the grass. I give you all shade. Men rest against my trunk, and wild creatures rub themselves against me. Men rest against my trunk, that the men who are tired, they come down and sit under my tree, under me, and take a rest. The animals, they rub themselves. The earth blesses me and sends up new plants and herbs under my protective arms. The earth blesses me. It's the blessing of the earth, and many small plants and trees are under my protective arms. They are under me. I bind the earth with my strong roots. I am binding the earth with my strong roots. That I have catched the earth with my strong roots. Children play at my feet, and women returning from the fields seek refuge in my coolness. Now the children, they play at my feet. They play near my trunk where there is a shadow. The women coming from the field, they rest under me. They take a shelter under me. Now the activity 5. Answer the following questions. How did the people show their respects to the Deodar tree? How did the people show their respect to the Deodar tree? By lighting lamps, by hanging flowers or garlands, by music and by dancing. Why did the Prime Minister and his men decided to pray to the Deodar tree? Why? Because they know that all the men were worshipping that tree and they want to cut their tree. So they had come to please that tree, that Deodar tree, the goddess of that tree. So they decided to pray the Deodar tree. Imagine that you are the goddess of tree. How would you convince the king to change his mind? Suppose now if you are a goddess and if you want to convince the king that you change your mind, then how will you convince him? We will tell him the benefits of the trees as the goddess told him. We will also tell him the benefits of trees, that we can give shelters, it will create a clean environment, it will bring rain, if it will rain, the soil will become fertile, etc. Now next, the activity 6. Part 3. That's true enough, God tree goddess, said the king. But all the same, I cannot spare you. My mind is made up, my will cannot be shaken. Now what the king is telling him, that it's true, you are helping others, you are giving shade to men, animals, etc. But now I can't spare you. I can't leave you. My mind is made up. My decision is fixed and I will cut you down. The tree goddess sank her head upon her breast and spoke in tones of a great sorrow. So now the tree goddess is bowing her head and she is telling with a sorrow. What she is telling? Then mighty king, grant me one last request. The tree goddess is telling, it's okay, if you want to cut me down, you can cut me down, but it's my last request. Let me fell in 3 parts. Cut me in 3 parts. First my head with its crown of waving greenery. First my head, the topmost first my head. Next my middle with its 100 strong arms and hands. Then my middle. And last my base, which bears the heaviest and knottiest of my limbs upon it. And at last you can cut my base, which bears the heaviest, which are very heavier, its roots are very heavier, and knottiest the roots, since the tree is much old, its roots are gone, it has spread very widely. This is a strange request, said the king. Now king says that this is the strange request. I have never before heard of someone who wished to suffer the death stroke thrice. Why not suffer it once and have done with it? So the king says that why do you want to cut in 3 pieces? The reason is plain, said the tree goddess. Dozens of young Deodar trees have sprung from me and have grown up around me. That because of me, dozens of small Deodar trees are grown besides me. Should you fell me with one mighty stroke, my weight would certainly crush all my children to death. That if you cut me within one stroke, I will fall down, and because of that I will kill my many children. She is taking the other small Deodar trees as her children. She says that if I will fall down, my children will be killed. The small trees will be destroyed. But if I suffer the stroke 3 times and fall in 3 pieces, some of the young ones may escape. Is my prayer granted? So she tells that if you cut me partly, then I will fail partly. So I will destroy the less small Deodar trees. So she is asking, is my prayer granted? So have you accepted my request? Indeed it is, said the king, as the tree goddess faded from his vision. Indeed it is. The king said, yes, I have accepted your request. And then the tree goddess faded from his vision, goes out of his vision. The next morning, the king called his children and his ministers and his foresters to him and told them that he had changed his mind and that the column for the new palace to be built of stone but not wood. Now the next morning the king called his children and his ministers and his foresters to him and told them, now I have changed my mind, I have changed my decision. Now I don't want to make my palace from a wood, from a tree. I want to make my palace from the stone. For, said he, within the Deodar trees lives a spirit nobler than my own. That within the Deodar tree there is living a noble spirit. And he told them of his vision, and they all marveled. He also told him about the dream he saw last night. And the king built his palace upon a great column of stone. Now the palace built his palace. The king built his palace from a great column of stone, from a big stone. Taking the example of the king, no one built their houses of wood anymore. Now taking the example from the king. Now when the king told his story to everybody understood that we should not make our houses from the trees. We should not cut the trees. The houses were made of stone and great deodars were able to spread freely through the forest. Now the houses were made up of stones and the great deodar trees were able to spread freely through the forest. Now since the trees are not cutted, deodar trees started spreading widely in the forest. And if you go up into the mountains, said grandmother, you can still find those forests all the way up the sacred river Ganga to its source near the eternal shores, eternal snows. So the grandmother is telling, now still if you go to the Himalayas, you can still see their forest having deodar trees which are still alive all the way up the sacred river Ganga to its source near the eternal snows. From the Ganga to up, as you go up high towards the mountain, you will still find the deodar trees. Eternal snows, as you go up, as you go towards the Himalaya, you can find the snow there, isn't it? So from the Ganga to the eternal snow. Activity 7. Who said the following, answer the following questions. Who said to whom? Dozens of young Deodar trees have sprung from me and have grown up around me. Who is telling? Tree goddess is telling to king. Within the Deodar trees lives a spirit nobler than my own. The king is telling to his children and his men. The reason is plain. The reason is plain is told by the tree goddess to the king. Did the king change his mind? How can you say? Yes, the king has changed his mind. He has told them to make the palace from the stone instead of making it from wood. Find out the gods and goddesses related to the trees. List their names in your notebooks and tell the stories related to them to your classmates. Select any one story from them and narrate them in the prayer assembly. Now we have to find such trees which are related to its significance, which are worshipped. Activity 8. Circle the odd man out. Now you have studied it in lower standard. Circle the odd man out. Whichever is odd, you have to circle that. Snarl, growl, scream, slip. So which one is the odd? Slip. Then the next. Run, swim, scamper, sprint. Scamper. Run, swim, these are our activities. Smooth, shiny, gleaming, bright. Now shiny, gleaming, bright, these are all relating to its shine. So and smooth is related to texture. So smooth is the odd one. Swift, steady, fast, quick. Swift, steady, fast, quick. So swift and quick are the synonyms for fast. Steady is the odd one. So circle the steady. Activity 9. Write a project report of an area which has been cleared of its greenery and replaced by a multi-storied buildings. Do a survey to find differences in the environment then and now. Now we have to make a report in which we can write that some of the trees have been cutted and instead of that a multi-storage building has been made there. And then what are the advantages and disadvantages of that? What are the advantages and disadvantages? How has it affected to the environment? Activity 10. Find the pictures of 5 different trees and write at least 5 sentences about each of them. Now you have to find some 5 pictures of the trees and then you have to write few sentences or 5 sentences on that tree. So with this we have finished our unit 11, the king and the tree goddess. Okay.